Hello, everyone, and welcome to the world of Eyes of Pearl. It's my world, and I'm so happy you're here. Okay, so tonight we have a music artist, and I'm dying to know all about her music journey and her situationship with music, because we all know music is a situationship. If you are in the music industry, it's a situationship, not a relationship, a situationship. But I beg to differ. Please welcome Cheri Yielle. How you pronounce?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank
Oh,
you.
awesome. So, thank you for coming. Thank you for visiting.
Thank you for having me. It's really, really cool to be speaking with you and to have a chance to, you know, meet the folks that love to listen to you and watch.
Yeah, I do my best. Okay, so tell me how this musical journey slash situationship started.
Well, I think it started for me the way it starts for a lot of us who just love music as children and sing along to, all the songs that they can hear and pick up the hairbrush and all of that. So I grew up loving music, um, but also kind of always feeling um, a little bit like an odd one out in school and, in the neighborhood that I grew up in. But I
Hmm.
was exposed to so many different styles of music. And I always just loved the idea of performing, and acting and just singing. Um, I was definitely singing in the mirror a lot as a child. And I love poetry and drawing. I just love being creative, in whatever medium that could be. At some point, I definitely thought I would be a fashion designer as like a 9-year-old or
It's like I'm talking. It's like I'm having an interview with myself. Like I can't believe
right.
it. Like
It's
we have so much in common. Like
it's a lot of
it's
us.
so uncanny.
Well, that's often how it is, right? And you gravitate towards other creatives because it kind of takes one to know one, kind of
Hmm.
understand one. So, um, for sure, I was in a band, but can't recall one practice in like middle school. Um, but by the time I was 13, I definitely knew that I was going to pursue music. I was very insecure about my voice. I knew that I couldn't quite sing, and um, I'm so grateful I had parents who, wanted to support me the best that they could. And so, I started going to voice lessons and, um, I had a karaoke machine at home and um, I just had the chance to try and I was turning my poetry into songs. So um, and I started, just kind of meeting people through some like local modeling opportunities and such and just trying to connect as a person because I really didn't know where to start in music. Like how do you go into those rooms? What does that mean? What does that world look like? And I didn't know. So I knew I could probably get away with modeling to some extent. I was young and like 5'8", 5'9", and like 14 or whatever. I don't know. I was a tall girl. And I love basketball, but um, I started modeling. I met people and eventually I met someone who would teach me more about song structure and more melody and more vocal techniques. And I was going from school to whatever area of developing my skills I was going to, and I was just dedicated. And I gave up basketball because I wanted to focus on this dream of mine that I was taking very seriously. And then when it came time to decide whether to go to college or not, uh, I coming from a Caribbean background, I knew that I probably would want to go for many reasons. But I found out my guidance counselor told me about music therapy, and I decided to major in that, which is a beautiful, incredible field that I graduated with my bachelor's degree in, but I'm not doing that work right now. I'm just advocating for it and trying to spread the word. But music therapy was amazing. It taught me how to play instruments that I had to learn as a student in training. And that just kind of sparked so much for me, being able to start learning about producing my own music. And I worked on my first EP during that time and some other,
Yeah.
you know, it was just such an experience, one of those that kind of break you in order to make you who you are, or show you who you are. And I was, I feel like life is still, a very humbling experience, very interesting experience, full of just unknowns. And um, but I just continue to appreciate the opportunity to pursue and test myself and learn from others. And now, as I'm just creating more music, um, and going through different life changes, I'm just, gearing toward whatever comes next as a songwriter, as an artist,
Mhm.
um, as, the Cheri and under the Cheri tree, which is very important to me. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm excited to see what happens next.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Um, so I've heard of music therapy. Could you elaborate that? Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Absolutely. So, music therapy is um, where a trained and certified music therapist uh, forms a relationship with their client, who could be of any age, of any developmental level, of any diagnosis, as long as they're a candidate for music therapy. And all that really requires is that music isn't painful for them and that
Hmm.
they want to do it. They're like music. Um, and a music therapist, works with them through music, around music, with music, to help them help support their healing process or their process or their developmental process, um, whatever it is. It's a very dynamic, the same way, music is all these things and you can use it so
Hmm.
many ways, and
Hmm.
very similar. um, it's sort of where psychology and special ed and,
Hmm.
clash into clinical techniques that a music therapist learns. um, and it's awesome. Just as a student, I worked in a uh, rehab center with folks who have dementia. I worked with children
Oh,
and adults on the autism spectrum and with various
wow.
mental disabilities. And there were beautiful breakthrough moments. I then had my own music therapist when I was dealing with PTSD in
Uh-huh.
the thick of it. And so, um, there's so much that a music therapist with proper training can do to help another person.
That sounds awesome. I for some reason I thought that music therapy was like therapists that were like strictly for like musicians that were like going through a psychological or mental thing. And I'm like, you know what? That should be very helpful because of you know, I think of the music industry as a fraternity with no rules. All they want to do is party. And it's like, and there are many, many, many casualties. But you know, and I personally think that there should be um doctors, like psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, or what have you, for people in the music industry because there's a, it's I mean it's very stressful when you have this talent and people and the world looks at you like you're like some wind up toy. Oh, play that song for me. Play that song to me. It's like you're not your own person anymore. You belong to the public, and people forget that you're a person too at the end of the day when you're not singing these songs or when you're not rapping. People forget that you are not a person, and I feel like there should be therapists in the music industry that can like guide them into well, just keep giving them a balance. Like, for example, you see what happened to Britney Spears, saw what happened to R. Kelly, you saw what happened to Whitney Houston and Michael Jackson. We have all these great artists, and some of them have died because they didn't get the proper help they deserve. And there's and when they do go off the rails, it's like they're the butt of the joke. Ha ha ha, Britney, blah 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 blah. R. Kelly, blah 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 blah. Michael Jackson, blah blah blah. Whitney Houston, blah blah blah. Right, and so on and so on and so forth. But what you're doing is amazing
Thank you.
because there are some people who, like for example, let's just say somebody lost a loved one and they don't know how to cope with the loss. So that's when you come in with the music with the music therapy to help them deal with their loss.
That was me. I was the person who was struggling with loss. And I my supervisor connected me with a colleague of his or a friend of his, an amazing music therapist named Susanna, and that absolutely helped save my life. So I'm not a practicing music therapist, but
Hmm.
people don't know that it's a real thing and what the field is. I'm so happy to always have an opportunity to shed light on it, so that people can, do their research and find a music therapist around them. Um, but you're absolutely right. It's necessary, and I think one of the points that you bring up, which the music industry slash music business is so huge, and it's small, everyone kind of knows each other in some way, but at the same time, um if you look at it as like a microcosm for the rest of the world, there's an access to mental health care in general, right? There's an issue with that access for people in general. I think especially in an issue with access for minorities, for Black people. There's an issue
Absolutely.
with access, especially to, more specific therapies, the creative arts therapies, because there's music therapy, but there's also drama therapy, which is an
Right.
actual field. There's also dance therapy and art therapy. Um, I don't think I'm missing one. But so as I'm hearing you speak, I'm just reminded, that's kind of a big issue for everybody. And when something's happening in the world, I think it definitely reflects itself in music, right? Life reflects art, and art reflects life. And um, I think creatives have a hard time ignoring things, have a hard time ignoring feelings, and have a hard time being too detached or desensitized for better, for worse, I guess,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, going back to Britney Spears, I can remember her journey. Even when I can remember her when she was on Star Search. She was what 5, 6 years old, and she was performing, and then on Star Search, and then she was on the Mickey Mouse Club. Well, I didn't see her much on the Mickey Mouse Club. I saw like earlier. I used to look at the Mickey Mouse Club, but I didn't look at her when she was on the Mickey Mouse Club. But she was on there like till the very end. So after she did the Mickey Mouse Club, she went back home to her small town in Louisiana, and then like later on, she um she was doing her single baby one more time, and this is like the late '90s, and I guess that's when her music her music career took off. Not to say that it was easy, because it was not, because people were looking at her like a sex symbol. Never, I don't know if you remember, but the infamous cover she did for Rolling Stones magazine when she was wearing a like a little bra and some shorts and a little pajama shirt, and it looked like she was on the phone. But yeah, it it, they were sexualizing a teenager, and then people are thinking that she's doing this. She's not doing this. She has no control. People are telling her, "Oh, show some skin, or wear a shorter skirt." But she's underage. She was 17 years old, and it's not just the music industry. It's also in the movie industry. The other night I was looking at something with Alicia Silverstone. You remember Alicia Silverstone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Alicia Silverstone made her big splash in that movie The Crush. And she was playing a 14-year-old, I guess you could say, who was obsessed with someone who was twice her age, old enough to be her dad.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she played a 14-year-old, but her real age was, she was like, what, 15, 16 years old?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at this movie, and they had her do things like kiss an older man. Then there was a scene where she was swinging on the swing, and they did a upskirt shot of her. I'm like, this is a child.
Yeah.
This is a child. And then later on, she was known as the Aerosmith girl, because Aerosmith had her in three of their videos. And again, still underage. She's not even 18 years old. She's not even 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then on one show, she was a guest on one show. I think it was Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart was 32 years old and she's 17, and he's saying very inappropriate things to her. I'm like, where is her mother? you know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, this, I mean, I when I looked at it, I was very uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable for her. I'm like, and I can see her and I see her uncomfortability in her face. Like, who is this old man, and why is he flirting with me? You know, somebody get me out of here. But yes, um, it's I really believe that the music industry does need like some sort of like a therapeutic branch for musicians to deal with the stress of fame, the stress of society, because let's just let's be real, people are going to talk about you whether it's good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some musicians are very sensitive, and they don't know how to handle that, so they turn to drugs or alcohol, or just behave completely erratically, because they don't know how to deal, they don't have a tough skin. So it's important that they do have therapists or counselors for these musicians. That's just my take.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think there's so many, what the public gets to see and what people really experience, because they're also still just like, having regular people, issues too, right? They have families that, may need their support. It's even just on the scheduling side, not quite a 9 to 5 structure. There's so many different factors, and so many different people and personalities that, go through these different experiences. And so um, it'd be awesome if there was more of a support. There's they're there, but I think also the same way that like not everyone who has access to is also ready to take that step. You know, it's a whole other journey to like really acknowledge what you're going through in those ways, you know, and it can be hard, I think, when people, you know, almost aren't really listening to.
Right.
I I advocate for therapy, but I've had a terrible therapy experience one time.
Oh
You
wow.
And that's a terrible thing to go through because
Yeah.
you're trying to do the right thing. You're trying to ask for help. Um, you know, you're trying to be honest. And it was this man who I was sharing something that I, you know, had experienced, something traumatic I'd gone through. And
Mhm.
like session like added to the trauma, you know, and I ended up having to report this therapist, and his credentials ended up being super weird. And so, you know,
Oh
it's
man.
it's it's yeah, it's difficult. So I just want everyone to get the help they need, whether they're a artist, a creative, or not. You know, I want every friend, family to also like change the narrative on that, you know, because then you have that other side where mental health care can be weaponized against you. You know, like it's such a thing that unfortunately, at this point in time, we're still not fully over. You know, we haven't fully grown past that. There's certain conversations happening, but you know, it's not enough. You know, there's still too much stigma and stuff attached to something that's important.
I totally agree. And you know, us creatives, we're some of us are very sensitive. We have a very sensitive, you know, um, bone in our body. Um, I know I do. Uh, and where when I was growing up, you couldn't cry because crying showed weakness. Even if somebody died, you couldn't cry. I'm like, well, I just lost somebody that I love. I can't cry. And it was like, it's a form of weakness. Now, this is how I feel. You can cry, but you can't stay in that forever because if you do, you'll never move on from it. You'll have your cry, get it all out, and then you move on. Now, granted, you'll have your moments here or there, but the point is you keep going because you have. It's not like you not just you have to keep going, but you have to bring yourself to believe that there are positive things in life there. Yes, this person is gone, but the memories you have with this person will live on, and their soul will live on. And if this person visits you in your dreams, that's also a sign. Um, I just recently I found out that someone who was near and dear to me passed away a few years ago. Like okay, so I think this person passed away like around 2018. I didn't find out until last year. I felt so guilty, and I'm thinking, where was I? Why was I there? You know, and I had to think, you know what? It was for a reason. Because if I was there and if I knew, I wouldn't be able to handle it. It would have been hard for me to even get out of that because I was so close to this person. So maybe it was a good thing that I did find out about it 3, 4 years later. But I know about it. And what's so funny is that I knew something bad happened to this person. I just didn't know what it was. But
Mm,
but their brother told me what happened, and I just collapse. And I do have my moments here and there, but also I know that his soul is eternal and his soul lives on. His soul is still his soul is still living. In a way, he is alive. But going back to the musicians.
My condolences to you.
Wow, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mm.
But back to the musicians. We've lost so many great musicians, and I think I wish they were around the right people to to help them get out to help them defeat these demons, because musicians, creatives, we are constantly fighting our demons every day, and it's not what I think more so we're fighting with our demons because we have it's like God gives us this gift to create to these gifts, whether it's to create things via music, create things by through food or what have you. And it's always these demons, even the demons around us that are physically around us. They don't want us to succeed. They don't they or they want you to succeed on their dime, you know, just like once again, Britney Spears. Her father had her on a what is it called? A conservatorship.
Yeah.
Maybe but okay. I didn't know she was on this thing for 14 years. I'm like, what? Her family um said that, well, she's not of sound mind and body to have control over her finances. So her father was controlling the finances. I'm like, oh my god.
Hmm.
But that's over, and she no longer has to deal with that anymore. So thank God for that. But for 13 years, and like I said, it goes back to the fact that people don't see these music artists as people. They see them as entertainment. Play that song for me, sing that song for me. I don't care what you're feeling. Sing that song for me. Make me money. That's all they care about. And that takes a toll on somebody because nobody's really listening to what they want or what they have to say or what they feel.
Hmm. Yeah. It's I think Tiffany Red, I don't know if you know who she is. She's a songwriter who's very outspoken about um on behalf of women in the industry and independent, musicians and writers in the industry. And, she's, said that like music needs an HR department, you know. Uh,
Exactly.
and that would be wonderful, I think I can only hope that the internet is helping, people feel empowered. Um there's so many lawyers who have so much information to share. Like a lot of creatives don't realize, that you want to be aware of copyright law and what legal information goes along with the songs that you create and
Mhm.
the performances that you do. So there's so much information, and of course that doesn't take away problems. It doesn't, it's not going to be the fix to all of this, but the artists that you mentioned, those are only the high profile artists, and they have different, slightly different problems than, the local artists who, can't quite figure out how to monetize and how to, make their passion a business that can sustain their lives,
Mhm.
So there's so many there's a diverse group of challenges that um, there isn't just one simple answer to in this field for sure.
Right. The music industry is very complex
Yeah,
to say the
yeah,
least.
yeah, definitely.
So, besides being um a music therapist, you're a musician, yes?
I'm a musician. I'm not a music therapist. I'm
Oh,
not practicing. I just have the bachelor's degree, but
okay.
I could have gone on to be board certified music therapist and whatnot, but I chose to pursue my craft first, and um, instead maybe I'll be a music therapist one day and use this degree I worked so hard for. But for now, I want to focus on being the artist and the writer and producing and um, just connecting with people that way.
So, what's your genre of music?
I have a fusion. I call my style pop alternative soul. Um,
Okay.
just pop soul and with always a little bit of a Caribbean influence, seasoned on top. Uh, and yeah, yeah, pop soul.
um, okay. So like, okay. So have you done like any music videos or no?
Sorry, I got a call.
Oh, okay. You have a call?
Yeah, I ended it though.
Okay.
Okay.
Um, so have you done like any music videos?
Yes, I have. I've
Oh,
done quite a few. I've done quite a few. I actually released one recently, just a couple weeks. The call came through, and just muted me. So rudely. Um, I just recently released a video for a remix that I done called "Your Mind Still," and it was a video that I actually ended up editing myself. And I'd love to tell you more
yeah.
about it. I want to just make sure that that call doesn't come through again. If you give me a moment, just let them know that I'm on a call right now. I'm talking right. Uh, can you mind just giving me a moment to let them know?
Sure.
Thank you. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Okay, guys. While Cherie is, you know, handling other matters, um, you know, please feel free um, to to voice your opinion on what we're talking about now. If you're online, if you're watching now, you can drop us a line, or you can, do it later. But yes, please check this podcast, The World of Audra Pearl. Um, and she's back.
I'm back. I'm back. Thank you. Sorry about
Okay, so is your music videos on YouTube? No, no. Let me rephrase that. Um, have you gotten far to where your music videos is on TV, like BET, MTV, or anything like that?
No, not MTV. There's Quaz TV that's been super supportive. There is oh no. Damien Emile in New Jersey. I forgot the program that they're on, but they are always so supportive and play my videos.
Shout
And
out to Damien.
hmm?
Shout out to Damien.
Shout out to Damien. Oh goodness, I cannot believe I forgot their program. I've gone down there and did their interview, and they're awesome. They're awesome. So not MTV, but they've gotten my videos played on apps that you can access on Roku and Apple TV and whatnot. So I've gotten that far, but not the big names yet.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Mm,
mean, it's all good. I mean, I just want people to. I just want want you to tell people where they can find your music video. They can watch you do your thing.
girl, I want them to see it because my videos. They're telling my story and they're cute, but they're also they do. I love creating them because it goes outside of the music. It brings a different dimension to it and a different layer to it, and all the preparation and worry and stress and everything. It's always a crazy experience, but it builds into something that I'm really proud of. So um, feel free anybody to check out the videos. They're cool.
Could people? All right. So can people? Where can people find your music? Can they find it on SoundCloud? Can they find it on where they find music?
Yes, they can find it on SoundCloud, on YouTube, but also on um, Fanbase, on Spotify, on Apple and Tidal, and et cetera, all the rest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um. Are you still good? Like, are you still good? Like, physically.
I'm good. Thank you for checking in. I appreciate it. I'm good.
Okay. Okay. I just don't want you to get sick. I don't want to get. I don't want you to get sick.
No,
Well,
thank you. This is the first time in like weeks I put on makeup. I got cute just for you, girl. So
no. Well,
I'm
I should have returned the favor because I ain't got no makeup.
because your skin just glowing. Like what? Okay. All right, cheek.
Maybe that's that inner glow.
Is that glow? That melanin? Yes. Yes. It's a pearl by nature. You good.
Oh. Oh wow. Oh wow. You made my day. Okay. All right. So you said you have music out.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Uh-oh, don't catch my COVID, girl.
Oh no, no, no. I just my throat is really dry.
Oh, okay.
Ugh, sorry about that.
It's okay. It's
Uh,
okay. Water.
got some water. I am good now. All right. So I tell my guests who are who are music artists that I have a friend in Ithaca, New York, and he is a DJ. He just split image. Shout out to DJ Split Image. And what he does is once in a while he likes to do these mixes for a local radio station in Ithaca, New York. So you can find him on Facebook, you can find him on IG, you can find him on Twitter. So if you are interested in having your music played, you can just DJ Split Image, one whole word.
Okay, for sure. I
Yeah.
want to check them out. Uh-oh. I want to write them down. I'm on my phone with you right now. But I'm gonna get a good old pen and paper like my mama.
Yeah, man.
Lit image.
DJ Split Image.
I will check him out.
Yeah.
Super cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, mm.
so when you were younger, did you like did you have like a special notebook where you like wrote down your inner thoughts, not like a diary or a journal, but like strictly for music?
Maybe here and there. Yeah,
Okay.
now I think like that's something I just started doing because what I used to love was I used to love writing stories,
Okay.
like old novels and drawings and poems, and I always had way more books than I needed because for some reason I just didn't like everything going in one book.
Mhm.
I don't know. That was just me. But now I have books that I use, for affirmations, for just really writing my thoughts. I have, a couple of books that I use to write songs in. Um, but I don't, yeah, I just always had so much going on in terms of writing. And now I do a lot of my writing like in the phone too. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, I when I was younger, you know, I wasn't so musically inclined. I mean, I've been singing since I was 4, but but to write my own music, I couldn't do that. I can't even play a music instrument. So just me singing in a choir or whatever, that's as far as it went. And I just do it for a hobby. And I'm good with that.
Well, I
However,
teach
huh?
you. I could teach you. I have a program, girl.
Also okay.
I
Okay.
I am one of my regular job type things is I'm a vocal coach for beginners. I teach piano and music theory for beginners and
Oh
song.
wow.
So, that website is myindiecoach.com if you or anybody wants, to learn how to express yourself with some technique behind what you're doing. It's
Maybe not me, but surely my son. He wants to be a rapper.
I have had students that have been rappers, and it's definitely helpful for them to learn how to breathe for performing,
Mhm.
actual breath support and breath control, how to really mess with their tones. There's a lot that I can do with rappers. That's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I get very leery. I'm very leery about the music industry. And when he told me he wanted to be a rapper, you know, I support my son 1,000%. But it's like as a mom, it's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old is,
Huh?
how old is your son?
He is 19 years old.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I know I don't look like I have a 19-year-old, but I have a 19-year
Nah,
old.
uh, that's awesome. I would definitely love to speak with him. Um, and there's there's an organization that I'm part of called WSA that's been helping to teach and guide me a lot as well. Um, Learning more about the business, to really how to empower myself and prepare for um, the path that I want, and it's good people with good intentions in there. So I could definitely give you more information on WSA as well too.
That'll be wonderful.
Yeah.
That'll be wonderful.
Mm.
Yeah, and as far as with the books is concerned, I never did that. But yes, when I was younger, I did draw. I wanted to be a fashion designer ever since I was 11 years old. Still want to be a fashion designer. I am going to be a fashion designer. But for now, I do jewelry. For now, I do jewelry. Um, and now as of what I started writing because after college I was just like didn't know what to do. I was just like going through going through the motions, day after day. I get up, I do this, I do that, do this, do that. Then I go to sleep and then do the same thing over and over again. And then a lot of people would hint to me, like this one guy. that I was kind of sweet on. Um, sorry. He um he asked me, so what would our first date be like? So instead of telling him, I told him telling him what it would be like. I told him and like as a story. So I would give him bits and pieces of our first date and how it would be like in a story form. And he told me, you know what, you need to write books. I'm like, huh?
Mm.
What? So I was flattered that that he told me that, but I'm like, thanks, but what would I write about? So one day, I'm just chilling at my other friend's house, and then like one character came into mind, and then another, and then another, and then all of a sudden a storyline begins to form, and then next thing I know, Christmas of 2017, I published my first book. And when I got my first book, it was like holding, when Charlie holds the golden ticket, it was like I was holding the golden ticket, like I did it. I did it. I didn't think I was going to do it, but I'm like, I published my first book. And I'm like, you know what? If no one's not going to be proud of me, I'm proud of me. Because I did something I never thought I was going to do. And I have tons of books that like I just write random thoughts, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna keep these books because one day I'm gonna have a grandchild or a great grandchild that's gonna take after me, and she's gonna want to know he or she's gonna want to know what was my great grandmother or my grandmother like. So this is my life. These random thoughts I'm writing in these books, this is my life. I mean, I even write shopping lists in these books. So I want them to know, like, this is what grandma did, or this is what great grandma did, you know. And I think, as creatives, and if we're those type of people that like to write random thoughts in our books, you save them. It's
Mm.
it's important. So that's what I think.
That's really cool. That's I love that idea of just, making something to pass down. That's really, really beautiful. And just congratulations that you made the book. And
Yeah.
something I've always wanted to do too. So like I'm really inspired. That's awesome.
Yeah, I tell people, you know what? The number one rule in writing a book is write what you know.
Hmm.
Write what you know.
Yeah, I hear that. I definitely hear. That's
So,
cool.
is it like that when you write when you write your music? You write what you know.
Um, yes, but I think sometimes a song can surprise you, you know.
Hmm.
Um, I'll I'll write something and it's not like I didn't know that I necessarily felt that way, you know,
Hmm.
or I didn't know that that was something I wanted to say in that way. So, um, and I think sometimes you feel things that you don't necessarily know, like if that makes sense. So sometimes writing what you feel, um,
Absolutely.
is a little different from writing what you know, because it's like feelings can be, we don't know we're feeling all the time, and music is kind of one of those things that helps us navigate and observe ourselves. So, um, I think so, but I also I just try to write, you know, um, and even with what I'm learning in WSA, I think my process is evolving and changing too, just like my life is changing, and
Hmm.
and I'm just grateful for um the ability, though at times it feels like it's hanging on a thread,
Yeah.
like ability to like still be, you know, neck deep in the craft and to be changing, you know, because you don't do something for years and years to do it the same, you know, and to not grow and whatnot. So I there's times I feel like a kid again, just like, oh, I still have so much more to do, so much more to learn. Um, things are changing, and I there's you know it's just a never ending. I'm sensitive about words that I use and like language. Don't just call it a challenge because it's also a joy, but it's just uh, it keeps you on your toes in a way that I think is good.
I think that's awesome.
Mm.
Well, we're coming to a close with our little visit. But before we go, are there any parting words you'd like to say to our other visitors?
Yeah, I would love to say just thank you for listening, getting to know me. Thank you for the opportunity. Um, please look into music therapy, look into the creative arts therapies. Don't be scared to, the date around therapists and see where you find the support that you need, or just, an opportunity to observe yourself and to gain new skills that maybe you didn't know you wanted to develop. Um, and sing, you know, sing, flow with the wave, and touch. You know? Yeah.
All right, guys. That concludes our visit from the world of Aja Pearl. I'd like to thank our special visitor, Cheri Yielle, for stopping by. Um, that's it for the world of Aja Pearl. It's my world, and thank you for stopping by. Have a good night.